Episode 3: Blood and Shadows. The Hotel Alexandria stood like a monument to broken dreams. In downtown Los Angeles, once the city's crown jewel, it now sheltered Hollywood's discarded souls. Aging actors, failed screenwriters, and young women who'd arrived chasing stardom, only to find heartbreak. 2 hours had passed since Victoria Sterling's abduction. Her whispered clue burned in Detective Ray Morrison's mind. Room 217, Hotel Alexandria. Elizabeth hid something there. Find it. The lobby retained traces of former grandeur. Cracked marble floors, dusty chandeliers, leather chairs now occupied by drifters. Behind the scarred reception desk, a night clerk with trembling hands dozed over racing forms. Room 217, Ray said, flashing his detective shield. Elizabeth Short murder investigation. The clerk's eyes sharpened with recognition. The Black Dahlia girl? She was sweet, always polite. Room's been empty since she disappeared. Management figures it's cursed. He produced a brass key. Ray climbed the narrow staircase, his 38 drawn. The hallway stretched like a tunnel into hell, lit by a flickering bulb. Room 217 sat at the corridor's end, door slightly ajar. The room had been searched recently. Drawers hung open, mattress pulled askew, papers scattered like fallen leaves. But whoever had done this worked with desperation rather than method. They'd missed what Elizabeth Short had hidden in her final act of defiance. Behind the old cast iron radiator, Ray's fingers found what previous searchers had missed: a manila envelope sealed with tape in desperation. Inside were 3 items that made his blood freeze: a photograph, a letter in Elizabeth's script, and a brass key bearing number 442. The photograph showed Elizabeth with Dr. Walter Bailey, the prominent Beverly Hills surgeon. The image was disturbingly intimate, taken in Bailey's private office. Elizabeth was partially undressed, her expression mixing fear and forced compliance. The letter painted systematic abuse. My dearest Walter, the baby changes everything. I have photographs, letters, evidence of what you've done to girls like me for years. Victoria was just the beginning. I know about Margaret and all the others. 1 week to acknowledge our child publicly, or the newspapers get everything. I wonder what police will make of how Bailey treats young actresses in his basement clinic. I'm not afraid anymore. Elizabeth. The brass key was labeled with Union Station's storage facility address. Elizabeth had created a paper trail that would survive even if she didn't. Footsteps echoed outside. Ray pocketed the evidence and moved to the window, which opened onto a fire escape. As he climbed down, he heard voices above. A woman speaking professionally, a man whose accent carried money and power. Union Station at midnight felt like a cathedral built to worship human desperation. Storage locker 442 opened easily to Elizabeth's key. Inside were medical files, photographs, and a recording device. Evidence of conspiracy reaching Hollywood's highest levels. Dr. Walter Bailey wasn't just treating young actresses. He was systematically abusing them under medical care's guise. The files documented dozens of women fitting Elizabeth's profile. Young, beautiful, desperate for their break. Most had simply vanished. The recordings were the smoking gun. Elizabeth's voice, clear despite underlying fear. He keeps calling me Margaret. That's what he called his daughter who died in that car accident. He makes me wear her clothes, says I look just like her. The other girls who refused his treatments, they never came back from that basement clinic. I think he's been killing them, trying to find the perfect replacement for his dead daughter. Ray was studying files when he heard a gun hammer click behind him. You should have left well enough alone, Detective Morrison. Ray turned slowly. Sarah Chen stood in the doorway, no longer the helpful nurse from the coroner's office. Her professional demeanor had been replaced by something cold and predatory. The gun in her hand was steady as a surgeon's scalpel. Behind her stepped Victoria Sterling. Alive, but changed. Her eyes held terrible secrets now. Sarah's been helping drive Bailey for years, Victoria said quietly. She's the one who actually performed the surgery on Elizabeth. The doctor created the method, Sarah said with clinical detachment. But I perfected the technique. Elizabeth threatened to destroy everything. She had to be permanently silenced. Why the theatrical display? Ray asked, buying time. Why cut her body in half? Sarah's smile was cold as a morgue drawer. Art, detective, doctor. Bailey believes true beauty should be preserved forever. Elizabeth was too dangerous to keep alive, but too perfect to simply waste. Ray's hand edged toward his. 38, but Sarah was ready. Don't even think about it. You're going to have an accident tonight. Just like all the others who got too curious. But Victoria had been moving during their conversation. In one fluid motion, she grabbed a crowbar from a maintenance cart and swung with surprising force. The impact caught Sarah across the shoulder, sending her stumbling. Her gun clattered across concrete. That's for Elizabeth, Victoria said with quiet satisfaction. Sarah scrambled toward her fallen weapon, but Ray was already moving. The gunfight was brief but brutal. When echoes faded, Sarah Chen lay motionless, her blood spreading around the evidence that would finally bring justice. How long have you been investigating this? Ray asked Victoria. Months. Elizabeth wasn't dry. Bailey's first victim. She was just the first one smart enough to fight back. Sarah recruited the girls, telling them about exclusive medical treatments. The doctor would experiment on them, and when they became problems, they disappeared. Victoria knelt beside Sarah's body and searched her pockets. There's something else you need to see. She produced a leather appointment book, filled with names that made Ray's stomach clench. Prominent politicians, studio executives, wealthy businessmen who shaped the city's power structure. It wasn't just about his dead daughter, Victoria explained. Bailey had compromising information on half of Hollywood's elite. Elizabeth threatened to expose not just him, but everyone connected to his operation. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had reported the gunshots. We need to get this evidence to someone we can trust, Ray said. Victoria's smile was sharp as broken glass. In this city, detective, the only way to get justice is to take it yourself. As they prepared to leave Union Station, stepping around Sarah Chen's body into the uncertain night, Ray realized solving Elizabeth Short's murder was only the beginning. The real question was whether they would live long enough to expose the network of corruption and systematic murder that had claimed her life. Somewhere in the darkness of Beverly Hills Drive, Walter Bailey was waiting, surrounded by shadows of all the girls who had died to feed his obsession with preserving his dead daughter's memory. The game was far from over, but for the first time since this nightmare began, Ray felt like they might actually have a fighting chance. To be continued in Episode 4, The Doctor's Obsession. Authors note this story is inspired by the real Black Dahlia murder case of 1947, one of Los Angeles' most famous unsolved crimes. While based on actual events, the characters and relationships depicted are fictional interpretations created for dramatic purposes.